We are live for the final college football playoff rankings that will set the bracket for this year's CFP. Team Chaos frankly got their wish over the weekend with upsets and Alabama not having a very good game against Georgia. The ACC on the verge of being left out, but maybe not. We will have live coverage of the CFP rankings and the reveal of which teams have a chance to play for a national championship this year. I am Tom Downey, producer Aiden, behind the scenes on today's show. Before we dive in, shout out your favorite team for me in the comments section of today's show. Of note, we are simulcasting right now on our Alabama football channel. Chris, who almost always does all of our Bama stuff, he is on our Bengals Sunday watch party. So instead, I will take care of things. There should be a short from Chris as well. We'll do a full on-demand video for you guys on the Bama side. The main side, we will have Red Zone after this. We will also, by the way, have some bowl game breakdowns once all of those come out. So shout out your favorite team in the comments section of today's show. Joshua, Kimberly, Fortune, Jr., all typing in their Bamas. No surprise there. Ohio State from Time in the Buckeye. Illinois from Mike Nintendo Master. Let's see what else we got. Mike, I think, is an Ohio State fan. They are in, by the way. Food Review, Texas Tech, also in. What's up, Aiden?
Hey, I just wanted to shout out real quick, Kentucky football, Will Stein. That's my guy, man. Love the hire.
I am disappointed to see that Kentucky fans went to hypothetical quarterback conversation, thinking they were going to get JKS from Cal.
I fell for the bait a little bit. I did. But listen, I'll trust whoever Will Stein takes. Yeah, that's for sure.
But great job by Cal keeping them. Get your favorite team in the comments section of today's show. We're probably over a half hour away from the college football playoff rankings getting revealed. If history tells us anything, they'll do like 15 minutes of nonsense and discussing, and then reveal the obvious teams. Then they'll go to commercial break, and then they'll reveal the ones that we all care about here. So keep the comment section flowing. Shout out your favorite team. We got JMU from Tuck the Puppy. Hey, look, not everyone agrees with me, and we'll spend a lot of time discussing all this stuff here. I, for one, am excited to have two potentially G5 teams in. I think that is an awesome idea. It might not get the best result, but it is fun. And I think potential rematch of Tulane versus Ole Miss isn't as intriguing. Oregon might pound James Madison, but I like it when the little guy gets in. We got a $2 super chat from Chris B. Says Miami should be in over Notre Dame. I think Bama is. I think we have a way in we can go to this that kind of ties into Chris B's super chat on Miami Notre Dame. I think we have that one built. Look, I would actually agree. In fact, I would even go so far as to say I think BYU is kind of getting shafted a little bit in this conversation. Like, they lost to one team this year. They didn't have that good of a resume beyond that. But I think that is still a conversation that needs to be had. And yeah, we should have a way into Notre Dame or Miami. Gotcha. You're good. I would lean to putting Bama in. I don't know if it's a lock. I agree with Chris B, though. And the committee has kind of already made their case that it's Notre Dame in over Miami. You guys can vote ND or Miami, who should be in the CFP. My mindset is, why are we playing good non-conference games, period, if the team that won the game finishes with the same record and is still behind? I get it was early in the season, and I get that somebody is probably going to get snubbed no matter what, but Miami won that game. Like, this is the tiebreaker, right? Head-to-head is the tiebreaker. Why are they behind them? I don't understand that. It doesn't really make logical sense to me. I would like to see the committee's kind of laid it out. Like, I think, honestly, if the committee didn't do season-long rankings, if they just did the final one, I'd have been like, there's no way you can put Notre Dame ahead of Miami. Like, and I would have been arguing, hey, maybe Vanderbilt, maybe even Texas have some strong arguments. And the committee's kind of like made it clear those two teams aren't going to get in, period, with how far back they are. That's the issue. So pick your team, ND or Miami. Go vote in the comments section of today's show. WWEJ, the handle's only right now on YouTube. Bama's going to slide back between Notre Dame and Miami to keep Miami out. I would not be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if we got the conspiracy theory which I am on board with, of since the ACC got left out altogether because Duke won, which is hilarious, that at least Duke should be left out. Come on, let's be serious, guys. That the committee goes, Miami, you're in, so the ACC get somebody. I could see that happening. All right, today's live coverage, we'll get to the crispy super chat after this, but it's made possible by Prize Picks. It is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. That is Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. One of our Sunday football Prize Picks lineups, James Cook and Joe Burrow more than their rushing yards and passing yards, and Emeka Egbuka more than receiving yards as well. If you haven't already, go download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that lineup is simple to play. You pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. Get those picks right, you could cash in. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. This was the earlier super chat from Crispy. He had another one. Thank you very much on that front there, Chris. Cheers to you, my friend. He says, JMU and Tulane are going to get smoked. Not fun to watch. This is partially bore out of like what I want college football to be. I don't want to have a situation where it's only like 30 teams that matter or whatever that magical number ends up being. I don't want it to be where if you're not spending $30 million per year on your program, you get nothing. You have to go play for a bowl game that now doesn't matter as much or a conference doesn't matter as much. I don't want to have the special FBS and then FBS 1.5. Like I want to have the small schools matter. Now, if they get their butts kicked, that's fine. But nobody thought Boise State was going to do it to Oklahoma. Like I want to have those chances for the moments, those chances for the chaos and the upset. And I still distinctly remember the Boise State-Oklahoma game. And I was not old at that point. Like I want to see all of that stuff happen. Let's get to the CFP here. So some changes this year as we're about 20, call it maybe 35 minutes away, frankly, from supposed to start at noon. We'll see what it actually starts that way. Second year of the expanded 12-team playoff. And I would argue it's going to change again next year because no matter what, somebody's going to get screwed a little bit on this one. Seeds 1 to 4 are no longer going to the highest conference champions. It's just simply the 4 highest ranked teams. And this actually would have been a pretty easy year to have the top 4. It just would have been Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech. Those are very clearly the top 4. The ordering beyond Indiana at number 1 is up for debate, but those are your top 4. Seeds 5 to 8 will play at home in the first round. One group of 5 team is guaranteed a spot, or I guess we can call it G6 if we want to and include the Pac-12, but they don't count yet. They'll be back in it next year, essentially. It's not this year, 2 G5 teams potentially, and the ACC champion gets left out because Duke won. Shame on the ACC for their tiebreakers. Shame on the ACC for allowing a non-conference game between Virginia and NC State to go on. That really hurt them. The debate today, though, of note, and apologies to like BYU, who I think is probably getting a little bit undersold in this conversation, but doesn't really. The committee has already kind of made it clear that they were behind others, and I don't see how they were able to stay in. Apologies to Vanderbilt, Texas, but again, committee's kind of made their feelings clear on that. Of these 3 teams, who most deserves to be in? And they should also make one of these for who. Oh, that's good. You're good. You did right. A for Alabama, M for Miami, N for Notre Dame. Who is most deserving to be in? And if you want to do what Mason just did on the Bama channel and Mike did on the Chat Sports channel, pick the 2. That's fine. Even better, frankly. Mike says Notre Dame and Miami. He says Alabama does not deserve it. Zah says if ACC is left out, they are not a Power 4 anymore. I think there is the possibility of some sizable changes and chaos and impact here of what does this mean for the ACC moving forward? If they get left out altogether, like how quickly other conferences have completely folded. If Bama gets left out, if Miami gets left out, what does that mean for non-conference games? Alabama technically is the SEC regular season champion. They were the number 1 seed in the SEC, as weird as that sounds. So what does that mean for conference champions? If the SEC can't get their regular season winner in, are they just going to be like, we're done? Like, we're done with conference championships? I don't know. I watched Duke, Virginia in overtime in a game that last year, 2 years ago, doesn't matter at all for anything outside of just enjoying football, have a massive impact on the CFP. I want to keep my conference championship games. I don't want to lose those. Like, I want to keep those in there. You know, the Big Ten game doesn't matter as much because it's just seeding essentially. But, like, you had the AAC game with some horrible officiating, by the way. I don't know if you caught any of that. I don't know what they're doing out there. Sun Belt game, James had some comparisons. ACC championship, we get rid of that, but why? I want to have these conference championship games that matter. You know, Georgia had 0 issues against Alabama, and that's what's even really made this a conversation at all, is that Bama didn't look good, but they also tried to win the game. Like, I don't want to also set ourselves up for a position where you're better off missing the conference championship game. Because if Bama had lost the tiebreaker, they would be in. They'd be in. And I don't think that's a good outcome to try to establish. Like, it'd be one thing if they were truly on the bubble and they needed an extra win and they lost. Okay, that was kind of the BYU factor. Bama was already in. Like, if they lose the tiebreaker to Ole Miss, well, somehow if that had happened, for example, well, then guess what? They're in. I don't like setting that precedent. Then again, head-to-head should matter over everything, and Miami is behind Notre Dame somehow, at least when the records are the same or similar. So, pin poll right now on the chat sports side of things is who should be left out of the college football playoff. It's going to be at least one of these teams. I'd be pretty stunned if something weird happened with BYU. Although, I do think BYU is kind of getting short end of the stick here. Low-key, I actually think Tech is really good. Their only loss this year, they didn't have their starter. It's the only game they've lost. Now, the Big 12, I don't think is that good either. Kind of flies in the face of my take in October of like the Big 12 and ACC should be one-bid teams, which seems likely. Maybe 0 for the ACC. Who should be left out? A, M, or N? Get those votes in for me in the comments section of today's show. Lots of A's on the chat sports side of it. The pin poll voting over there, by the way, 54% say Alabama, 26% say Notre Dame, 20% now say Miami. It just flipped a little bit there. It's yes or no. Does Bama get in on the Alabama Football Report simulcast right now? We're live on both chat sports and on the Alabama Football Report. 60% say yes for Bama. So that's not even very high. There's a lot of anxiety right now in Tuscaloosa, and I think justifiably so. It is not, you didn't want to get blown out, and they got blown out. I also give them credit for, like, not trying to make it a close game. Like, they could have kicked the field goal late to cut the lead. They could have not gone for it when they kind of had to and gave Georgia 7 more points. Like, I also don't want to get into the weeds of, like, well, style points matter, and then teams, like, try to not win. They just try to make it look close. I don't like that. Get your votes in, A, M, or N. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Like the video if you haven't already. Please and thank you. Free, simple, and easy to do. Like that video if you haven't already done so. Say what, Aiden? Probably my guess. But you leave the countdown as is. That's when the show starts. I do want to address as the likes come in here. Luis Rodriguez says, if a 3-loss Bama can make it, then a 3-loss Texas team should also be in. No, because Alabama is a 10-win team. And I do think, and I'm glad this point got brought up naturally because I wanted to bring it up at some point. I think we need to do away with only focusing on the losses. Because I am guilty of this as well. 3-loss team, 2-loss team. But Alabama and Texas in particular, those are not the same. Alabama is a 10-win team. Texas is a 9-win team. I also don't want to punish a team for playing an extra game. I've always hated that idea, unless it was truly like, okay, you win and in, lose and out, which that was the case for Alabama. Now we're in style points. Like, I get Texas has I'll be honest. If you had asked me in like a month and a half ago, does Texas get in with 3 losses? I would have said yes, because I thought there was going to be even more chaos and there would have been more teams taking each other out. I had thought that there was going to be a real path Texas to get in, but I didn't necessarily expect like the SEC to like really have all these 1-loss teams. I thought there'd be some more 2 losses in there. I thought Vandy would drop an extra game as well. I think there is a difference, a massive difference, frankly, between a 10-3 team and a 9-3 team. Like, I think that's very, very key on that front. So, like the video if you haven't already done so, please and thank you. Let's run through the conference championship games here. The AAC, which truly was a win-and-in scenario of this is where things play out. North Texas was ranked number 24. Not a great officiating performance in this one. Mestamaker, that was a fumble. Like, I don't know what they're looking at. Like, he's clearly shy. I think he's a full yard shy. It was baffling that one was upheld. There was the missed kick catch interference that led to points for Tulane. I don't think Retzlaff was in on the quarterback sneak either necessarily. I think he was kind of short on that front, but that was certainly noteworthy. And in the end, North Texas did not play well enough in that game. That is a big time swing, but Tulane kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit there. I do think Tulane is worthy of that spot. I was a little surprised that the committee loved Tulane so much the entire time. They hadn't really done that much, but they did win the AAC, puts them in a prime spot to be the first group of 5 team in. It certainly seems like James Madison is going to be the second group of 5 team that gets in this year. As a reminder of the rules, it is the 5 highest ranked conference champions that get in. That's supposed to be the Power 4, right? It's supposed to be Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC. But the ACC conference champion this year is Duke. And Duke has way too many losses, not nearly enough wins. They're an 8-win program. That team they were not ranked in the top 25. Does a win over the previously ranked 17th Virginia Cavs get you in? I don't think it should. So I think James Madison taking care of business, I think does matter here. I think that as weird as it is, the Dukes get in because of Duke, which is entertaining there. Not everyone's going to want to have the 2 group of 5 teams in. I actually like it. I am a fan of all of this. Like, I like to have the little guy in. And what if they pull the upset? Then we get the Boise State Oklahoma stuff again. Like, I think that stuff still matters to me for college football. I will say, and I was in full-on conspiracy theory, I really thought the ACC was going to make the call to get Virginia in. I'm a little surprised that they didn't, frankly. Virginia the trick play in overtime is a wild play call. I really thought when Virginia marched in through the 96-yard drive, whatever, to force overtime, I'm like, they're going to win. Duke's going to collapse. And then they run the ball right down Virginia's throats and get the win in overtime. I think there will be a discussion within the College Football Playoff Committee, board, chair, etc., of is it Duke or is it James Madison? I firmly believe it should be James Madison. I don't think you can put Duke in here. And I get that they had a nice regular season in the ACC, but I do think we have to still allow, especially in this particular case, it's all different conversations here, of just like, it's a little bit different. It's not always a one-to-one comparison. Putting in an 8-5 Duke team into the college football playoff, I can't get on board with that. Their losses this year, by the way, Illinois, Tulane, which actually looks pretty good now for Tulane, funnily enough, Georgia Tech, UConn. They also lost to Virginia earlier this season. And that was not a very close game against Virginia, not that close of a game against UConn. And they got pounded by Illinois. I don't think, again, I'll focus on the wins. I don't think you put an 8-win team in the college football playoff. Like, I think that there has to be a better option in there. So get your votes in. D for Duke, J for James Madison. D or J? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Duke or James Madison? We'll give some shout-outs here as well. Red Sox fan says J. Luis Rodriguez says J. Timon the Buckeye says J. A-Dirt, Jonathan, Dad of War. I have yet to see a single D. There's a D, Supercross Gaming. Swag says M for Miami. Let's talk about Miami here. Should the Hurricanes get in? Y for yes, N for no. Almost the better question for me is who should they get in over? Because if I were in charge, I am not the college football czar, I would have Miami over Notre Dame. I get that they've got some bad losses on their resume. It'd be a different conversation if it was a 10-win Notre Dame team and a 9-win Miami team, but they have the same marks, and they went head-to-head. What is the point of having like competitive non-conference games, good non-conference games that we want to watch and enjoy, if the winner of that game is still going to be behind the team that they lost? Oh, it's different than FSU not being ahead of them. FSU's got a bunch of only a few losses here, etc. I think that is a not fair necessarily mindset. So should Miami get in? Y for yes, N for no. We'll give some shout outs here. RS says yes. Brandon says yes. Grateful says yes. Zarek says yes as well. Supercross Gaming wants to talk about Vandy. I could talk about Vandy here for you. They're not going to get in. The committee has kind of already laid it out that they're too far behind. Like, they didn't play. There are teams that also didn't play ahead of them. There's no new data point. Same with Texas to have them suddenly jump in. I wouldn't see any logic in it in the end. Corey says yes. Miami and Notre Dame should be in from Timothy. Should Miami get in? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Timon's got his yes in there on top of that. Let's look through some more impactful conference championship games. The Big 12. Texas Tech taking care of business against BYU. Tech, I think, it's very funny how, some years you only needed 2 spots. It was very clear who the top teams were. Some years you wanted 6 or 8. Some years maybe you do want the 12. This year would have been kind of easy, the 4. Indiana, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Georgia. Would have been super easy in the end to just have those be the teams that got in. I think Texas Tech is a little bit undervalued. Their only loss this year came without their starting quarterback, which should probably be under consideration. I do feel bad for BYU in the end. They had the double overtime win against Arizona, narrow win over Utah. Okay, I get it. They've only lost to Texas Tech this season. So that's the only loss that they've had. And I get that the Big 12 isn't really that good this year. I think it's a little bit disappointing that BYU doesn't get any realistic shot at this point, because they can't jump Bama. They both lost. Bama was already ahead of them. Notre Dame was already ahead of them. So should BYU get in? Y for yes, N for no. Get those votes in for me in the comments section of today's show. I want to at least give the BYU truthers a chance to chime in on this one. I kind of agree. I didn't feel that way when they stuck by Arizona and Utah. I'm like, okay, maybe they're not that good of a team, but they've taken care of business since then for the most part, really. 2 Tech losses. Maybe the big issue for BYU is Bama did beat Georgia this year as the comparison here, head-to-head side. BYU scored 14 points combined against Texas Tech. Neither of those games were really competitive at all. Should BYU get in? Y for yes, N for no. No surprise here. It is all no's on that front. Yes or no? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's get to the one that has really led to some chaos. Team Chaos got their wish. We did the Team Chaos. We'll get to that later on here and how it did actually come true. Georgia taking care of business against Alabama in a rather non-competitive football game. Georgia dominated the entire time. 28-7 is the final score. Bama did briefly cut it to 2 scores, a 14-point deficit. I will give Bama credit, by the way. This is why I don't want to punish teams for losing an SEC championship game or any championship game when they were already in. Bama could have played to make it more competitive. They could have punted the ball when they were down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter and tried to hold the Georgia defense and kept it 14 instead of trying to go win the game. They could have kicked a field goal late to make it a more competitive game. But I don't want that. I want teams try to win games, not style point and point differential their way through nonsense there. With that said, it's now a conversation. Should Alabama get in to the college football playoff? This is should, not will, by the way. So if you were a member of the CFP committee, would you vote for Bama to be in? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. There's some no's on the Bama side. We are simulcasting, by the way, on both the Chat Sports YouTube channel and on the Alabama Football Report channel, since very relevant for the Crimson Tide in this one. Chris will be back on normal programming later this week, folks. He's on our Bengals channel right now. Should Bama go in? Y for yes, N for no. My issue with the no side of it, they were in. Like, Bama was in if they didn't actually have to play in the SEC championship game. This wasn't like BYU, where very clearly BYU was on the bubble. If Bama was like, they were 10 or 11 even going into this game, better conversation. But to get jumped by 2 teams potentially that did not play, I have issues with that. I don't. My concern is this the end? Is this the death of conference championship games? Because if the SEC technically, people might not want to hear this, but technically, if Alabama is the SEC regular season winner, they won all the tiebreakers. As weird as that sounds, and maybe we need to change the tiebreakers across the board here, Bama's the SEC regular champion. I think the SEC might go, we're not doing conference championship games anymore. If Bama gets left out, I wouldn't be surprised with that. I think that'd be really, really disappointing for college football in general, because I want to have stuff like the ACC championship game matter like it did last night. That was a great game. I don't want to take that away. I also think if Miami and Bama gets left out, it might be the end of conference championship stuff. Or non-conference games, because Bama's just going to blame it on the Florida State loss, which maybe they shouldn't be doing anyway, but that's what they're going to blame it on. The Big Ten championship game was also awesome. Not a, 5 years ago, whatever it is. That's a winner gets into the college football national championship game, losers left out. Indiana takes down Ohio State. A couple big-time throws down the stretch from Fernando Mendoza. A massive miss kicked by Jaden Fielding in the final moments of that game drastically changed things there. My one big takeaway overall from someone's going to get screwed, whether it's Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama, Texas, Vanderbilt, BYU, probably all going to get a bit screwed here. My big takeaway is we are going to 16 teams next year. We are going to 16 teams. And then 17, 18 are going to get left out and they're going to complain too. And it's just how it's going to go. I am convinced that the CFP expands again next year. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Does the college football playoff expand again next season? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let's do the reset here after this, once this gets to 0, and then we'll just go through the other stuff we've got planned for us today. 1 minute to vote. Does the college football playoff expand again next year? The rankings probably won't be in for another 15-ish minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. But we'll do a nice little reset here once the show starts at noon, and we will go in-depth on the rankings, reveal them here on the college on Chat Sports. Do the intro video here, the short video. Yeah. So does CFP expand? Ooh, a lot of zeros in there. I think they're going to expand. I think this is a round of expansion coming. I feel pretty confident on that one. 1 for yes, 0 for no. 20 more seconds to vote. I see 3. I don't know what 3 means. They add 3 teams? I don't know. Zeros from Caden, Bram. Mr. Lopez says 3. Brian says 0. Rudy Rislock says 1. Caden says 0. Time of the Buckeye says 1. Full live college football playoff coverage coming here on the channel. So make sure you guys are locked in, and let's dive into it. We are moments away from the college football playoff rankings being revealed. Here we will have the final 12 teams that are alive in the college football playoff right here on Chat Sports. The top four are pretty obvious. The discussion of what those four teams will be is very much up for debate. We still got, I'm going to guess, over under 15-ish minutes here on that front. This is what I have as the projected college football playoff bracket. I think Indiana is the obvious number one. They are going to be in. 2 and 3, Georgia, Ohio State, I do think is up for debate. And I actually think that the 3 seed is easier, by the way, as weird as that might sound. But I think you might see the committee reward Georgia for avenging their only loss of the season and put the Bulldogs at 2. The Buckeyes slide down, but they're still going to get a bye. I think there's no debate about who the top 4 are. Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech. We can debate and have conversation on the, who is more deserving of that front. I think that is going to be a bit more of a conversation. I don't think we're going to have much changes with Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma. Those 4 teams were all on bye. They did not play. I don't see any changes coming there. The conversation, beyond if James Madison gets in over Duke, which they should, Tulane at 11 as the first G5 team, I think the ACC might get left out altogether. Pick 2, based on what the committee has done previously, of Notre Dame, Alabama, and Miami. Apologies to Vanderbilt, apologies to BYU, apologies to Texas. Those teams are already kind of too far behind against teams that weren't playing either. I don't see how those teams are going to be able to leapfrog in. So who should be left out? A for Alabama, M for Miami, N for Notre Dame. Who should be left out of the college football playoff? Get those votes in. A, M, or N. Flood the comment section right now. We'll get to the $5 super chat that came in just a second as well. Get those votes in. A, M, or N. 54% are voting in favor of Alabama, 27% voting in favor of Notre Dame. Miami, Florida, getting 20% of the votes. We got a $5 super chat coming in here from American Asset. Said Notre Dame Miami had more rushing yards than Alabama did yesterday to get home. Notre Dame has lost by combined 4 points to 2 top 12 teams that have won 10 straight. I think maybe the best argument you can make to leave Bama out is they haven't played that great of football of late. I do think the trending side of it is a valid conversation and point to bring up. I also don't just want to ignore the September games. I would actually rather have Miami over Notre Dame because they won that game head to head. In general, I am not a fan of rewarding a team for not having to play in a conference championship game and punishing a team for playing in it. That's where I get a bit dicey because I want to keep my conference championship games. And I worry the SEC is going to throw a hissy fit if Bama gets left out and they don't go down that path. The Bama schedule has been far more challenging. Notre Dame had a good win over USC. Miami has one over Notre Dame. And that's a little bit both of those teams. Now, on last week's college football playoff live coverage, we had this as the chaos scenarios. Duke beats Virginia, Alabama loses, and then BYU loses. And guess what? All of those things have actually happened. And now we are in a situation here where Duke is essentially potentially locked the ACC out. We'll see. Alabama didn't have a competitive game against Georgia, who they beat earlier this year, but they've at least put it in the hands of the committee. BYU's out, and now you got the Notre Dame, Bama, Miami conversation. There are other teams that I know are going to feel a bit snubbed, but that is how it goes in the end. Now, we are live on 2 different channels right now. We are live on the Alabama Football Report. I know I'm not the usual Alabama Football Report host, but we are simulcasting as Chris Daughtry, who does our Bama coverage, is live on our Bengals channel for the NFL. And then we, of course, live on Chat Sports, as we are A, for every single college football playoff rankings reveal, and live for every college football playoff game this year. So if you want college football coverage, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/cowboy or /chat sports TV. Excuse me. I did the Cowboys thing again. Classic Tom. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. Shout out some recent subscribers here on the Chat Sports side. Blinky, Shane Taylor, Caden Prods, Francis, and Michael. Can we get to 424,000 subs on today's live stream? I think it's possible. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. A reminder quickly here, if you haven't already, to like the video on today's stream. Whether you're watching on the Alabama Football Report or if you're watching on the Chat Sports YouTube stream, we got you covered with all kinds of college football coverage because college football is just the best. It is as good as it gets on that front. So like the video if you haven't already done so. We are still, I'm going to say 10-ish minutes, give or take, over, under, away from the reveal of the college football playoff bracket. This is what I have projected, and I am not confident in it. By the way, I'm going to get some up-to-the-minute updated odds here as well, because sometimes, sometimes don't. Then again, I think FSU was super highly favored going into that chaos weekend. One is obvious. Indiana is a unanimous number one team. That is a no-brainer. I think there is debate, not just between 2 and 3. I would have debate over Texas Tech. I think that the Red Raiders have been really good this year. That defense is legit. Their lone loss this year came with a backup quarterback playing. The starter was hurt. 2 versus 3, Ohio State, it was a really good team against Indiana. Georgia also avenged their loss. They won their conference championship. I could see the committee putting Georgia at 2 over Ohio State. But it's kind of funny. This is a year in which, you know what? All you needed was 4 teams. It would have been a very obvious 4-team conversation. Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech. That's it. That's all it would have been. 5, 6, 7, and 8. I don't really see anything necessarily changing here as well. Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma did not play. There's no new data points. There shouldn't be a reason to have anything be adjusted on that front. It should just be the teams. There's no reason to tweak anything there. 11 and 12, I'll come back to 9 and 10 because I think the committee might come back to 9 and 10 as well tonight, or today, I should say. Tulane is in as the obvious highly ranked G5 champion. I don't think you can put an 8-win Duke team in. I know they won the ACC. I get Manny Diaz was doing his. They should be in. I don't know about that one. James Madison, I think, should be in over Duke, which I know is weird, but that is where we're at this point in time. 9 and 10 are the conversations here. Is it Notre Dame? Is it Alabama? Is it Miami? I know I've mentioned Texas and Vanderbilt and BYU. Unless the committee wants to just drastically change everything from what they had done previously with no real change and anything that's happened on the field for those teams, behind teams that also did not play, I don't see how Vanderbilt gets in. I don't see how Texas gets in. I think BYU should get some more love. I don't see how BYU gets in either. Who of these 3 teams is the most deserving team to be in the college football playoff? Because I do think the point of this is deserving. Because otherwise, if we're just doing best teams, we're just going to regress back to, oh, well, they got all the 5 stars. And they're not actually the best team out there or the most deserving team. A for Alabama, M for Miami, N for Notre Dame. Who is the most deserving team to be in? You can make arguments for all of these teams. In the end, I think someone's obviously is going to get shafted, and I think they're going to feel snubbed and feel screwed, and I get it. You know, Alabama's argument in favor, as your votes come in, flood the comment section, folks. Alabama's reason to be in, they are the SEC regular season champs. They were the number 1 team in the SEC. Had they not played in the conference championship game, we're not having this conversation, period. They're in. They're ahead of teams that also did not play. They would be in the other bucket of Oregon and Ole Miss, Texas A&M, even with the 10-2 mark. And by the way, I do think we should be emphasizing the wins a team has as opposed to the losses a team has, because otherwise it just kind of doesn't feel right on that front. M for Miami, you can vote for them. They beat Notre Dame head-to-head. I have disagreed with this the entire time from the committee. and I'm frustrated that they've gone so heavy on it. Why are we playing competitive non-conference games if the winner of that game isn't going to get in? Like, that game should carry a lot of weight. I get it was September, but if we're just going to ignore September, I don't get it. I don't get it. And for Notre Dame, you can make a very strong argument that Notre Dame has been playing some of the best football since their early season losses against Texas A&M and Georgia. And Miami, excuse me. You make a very real argument on that front. That is a argument that can be made and has been made with the Super Chat we'll get to here in a second. I think the biggest thing working against Alabama is the 3 losses. They do have 2 wins. American Asset says Notre Dame is the hottest team in the last 10 weeks. Just ask Syracuse. Yes, Syracuse won 3 games this year. In a frankly not very good ACC. I get that Notre Dame is hot. Their schedule also hasn't exactly been one to write home about since then. USC, I believe, is a very quality win. But after that, Pitt is their best win. Boise State, maybe even. The big games were Miami, A&M, and USC. And they lost to USC. That feels noteworthy to me. We are still, I'll go say, 5-10 minutes away from the new rankings. So who is ready for the new college football playoff rankings? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. We'll give some shout-outs here as well as these flow in. As a reminder, for those of you just now tuning in, I think live sub is a good call there, by the way. We have coverage on the Alabama Football Report and the Chat Sports YouTube channel right now. We are live on all of those channels. We are simulcasting on Alabama. Chris is not here. He is currently live on our Bengals channel. Shortcoming from Chris there. We are live on Chat Sports. So we got you covered here. Get your votes in. I'll give some shout-outs here. Brian, After Laser, Tuck the Puppy, Bram, Mr. Bacon, Austin, John. YouTube's back to doing the handles on the chat, and I kind of hate that. Jackson the Goat, Default Lindsay, Mr. Bacon, Jeremy, User, TR, RW, Bram, Corey in there, Mobster, Logan, Josh, Zoe, Charlie Underwood, Bama Boy Davis, Jonathan, Kyrian Bugs, User, Jackson the Goat, Yunts. Get your comments in. We'll get to Mr. Bacon Wap, a $5 super chat. I think Oregon could go up because they barely lost Indiana, and Ohio State barely lost Indiana. Yes, but Oregon was also left out of the Big Ten championship game altogether, and that would feel like you're really punishing Ohio State for playing the championship game to be behind a team that they were already ahead of. With the same record, there's no other conversation on that front. I will say this too. If we look at Oregon's schedule, it's not that good this year. It has the USC game in the same way that Notre Dame has, quality win there. Narrow road win over Iowa. Penn State's bad. We can say that they are bad. This is why I don't put any stock into when people say, oh, but they beat a top 10 team in September. Yeah, but turns out they were just a bad football team. Oregon does not get credit for me for beating Penn State in double overtime when the Nittany Lions collapsed after that. So I think, not that Ohio State has played that challenging of a schedule either, but I think they should get credit for beating Texas, which is better than anyone Oregon has in the end. So in the end, I give the nod to Ohio State over Oregon. I think Oregon stays in that 5 spot, though, in the end. Thank you very much, Mr. Bacon, WAAPP. Appreciate that. Another $2 super chat coming in from Mr. Bacon as well. Says, I would have never thought James Madison might make the playoff, let alone 2 group of 5 teams in position to potentially make that college football playoff. I don't think any of us truly saw that one coming. We are live on the Chat Sports YouTube channel. We are awaiting the release of the college football playoff rankings. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. The goal is 424,000 subscribers on today's live stream. This is on the Chat Sports side. If you're watching on our Bama YouTube channel, also make sure you guys are subscribed. We are simulcasting right now. Get those subs in. Free, simple, easy to do. We will be live for every single college football playoff game again this year. just like in previous seasons. We will be live. We will have you covered on that front. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Mr. Bacon Rap does point out, or WAP, I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be Rap, I don't know, that OSU has an easier schedule than Oregon. Ducks over OSU. 17 versus 30 on the strength of schedule metrics on that front is valid. I am a big believer in some of the wins, although strength of record also does slightly favor Oregon, or 4-5, so pretty minimal differences there. I feel like we're kind of penalizing Ohio State for losing a conference championship game to then fall behind a team that did make it to the conference championship game. And I don't like doing that in the end. As we await the final rankings, this is my projected CFP bracket. The top 4, Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech. Indiana is the obvious one. That is unanimous. They are getting in. By the way, is read only on this? Because if so, I'll probably clear out the old ones. Or we can just leave it for now. Not the end of the world. But Georgia is 2, Ohio State is 3, Texas Tech is 4. I don't think you're going to see a lot of other changes here really across the board. Just leave it, so make sure it's not causing issues there. Ole Miss, Oregon, Oklahoma, A&M were all on bye, so I don't think you're going to have any changes there. It certainly feels like we are going to get 2 group of 5 teams in. The Duke-James Madison conversation is not one that I would have much interest in having because Duke is an 8-win team. I can't put an 8-win team in the CFP. That defeats the purpose of 12 teams, and you pick a team with 8 wins. What are we doing out there? The real conversation is Notre Dame, Alabama, and Miami for the 9-10 spots there because the ACC might get left out. How does that impact that conference's future? What happens to conference championship games if Bama goes from a team that would have been in if they did not win the SEC regular season to being left out because of that one game? And Notre Dame not playing in a conference, just getting to lose to Miami and then still getting in certainly makes things complicated on that front. Who should be left out? A for Alabama, M for Miami, N for Notre Dame. A, M, or N? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Those of you wondering the strength of records, by the way, Alabama is 10. Miami is 14. Notre Dame is 13. Strength of schedule is 6 for Alabama, 44 for Notre Dame, 45 for Miami, which again just makes me wonder, there is a spot difference. How are we not putting Miami ahead of Notre Dame? That's what I would do. I would put Miami in over Notre Dame. We'll see if the committee feels the exact same way. $5 super chat from Mr. Bacon, who has been the MVP so far of today's stream. Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma didn't play in a conference championship game, so Notre Dame didn't, but Notre Dame is just better in my opinion. I'm curious how that hypothetical game would play out. I think there could be a lot of fun on that front there. I wonder if Miami should be in there instead, or if Alabama in a rematch. I don't know. I'm also curious, does the committee try to avoid earlier rematches? They're going to probably have one, though, with Ole Miss and Tulane, which is interesting. All for my guys. Rooted for Indiana, but the forward progress call was weird. Miami deserving due to earlier head-to-head win. I am inclined to agree on that front. I am inclined to agree. We'll see how it plays out in the end. That kind of a weird progress call. They're trying to protect the quarterback, but he was still kind of moving a lot. It was a little quick for me, I agree. But I think Indiana deserved that win. If you are ready for the new college football playoff rankings, type me in the comments section of today's show. I think just a quick sub. If you're ready, spam your me's in the comments section. They should be coming up here after this commercial break. So type your me's in the comments section of today's show, whether you're watching live on the Chat Sports YouTube channel or watching live on the Alabama Football Report. We are live on both, and make sure you are subscribed to both channels as well. We're going to be live for every single college football playoff game. All of them will have coverage for you here on the Chat Sports YouTube channel. I would say just go to the blank bracket, and then once we get the first team in, you can push it across, and we'll just ride on the subs. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. We are moments away from the reveals for the college football playoff bracket, the 12 teams that are in that have a chance to compete for a national championship. Somebody is going to be left out. Somebody is not going to be in a spot they would prefer. I think you can do sub L3, by the way, too, on that. But no, I don't understand. You can just push this across once we get the first team in there. It's blank right now. Yeah. So then just push it. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Then I could go. I will do the first team. Now I see what you're saying. Behind the scenes stuff there. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. We get to James Yoder super chat real quick. How about that? If you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed. We are moments away from the reveal of the college football playoff rankings. Bossman James coming in with a $5 super chat. He says Notre Dame is out. If I were in charge, I would put Notre Dame out. I would have Bama and Miami in. Based on what the committee has done so far, based on all that other stuff, I would have Alabama in, Miami in, Notre Dame out. I think that we should just have head-to-head games matter a lot. If it's the same record, like that should be your go-to tiebreaker. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me otherwise. College football playoff rankings coming up. Mr. Bacon's YTZ might have to wait on your super chat, so stay tuned for that one. College football playoff rankings coming up here in just a matter of moments. If you have not already, as a reminder, make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Mr. Bacon with his predictions. I'll shout it out because we're about to get them. Miami 12. Ooh, interesting. Tulane 11. Well, you can't squeak my. I'm thinking maybe 10. He meant James Madison or Alabama. Can't put Miami in there. It has to be James Madison or Tulane or Duke over Miami instead. Mr. Bacon also says Notre Dame in, so he meant Notre Dame at 10. I think he meant Notre Dame at 10. Oh, he got Notre Dame at 9, so he must mean Bama at 9. Or 10, excuse me. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. We are moments away from the committee sending us the college football playoff rankings. The email's being refreshed pretty happily. The texts are being refreshed. Hit that sub button. Free college football videos all off-season long, all season long, all playoff long. We got you guys covered here with live college football playoff game coverage. All the different CFP games we will have you covered for all the way down to the national championship game as we are now awaiting the CFP bracket reveal. I assume they're going to start with number 1 because that's kind of easy. They would just put Indiana at the number 1 spot. The drama today will focus in on number 9 and number 10. Which of those teams gets in, whether it's Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami? What does it end up looking like here? Let's get to the college football playoff bracket here in just a second. We'll have it here. Indiana is indeed the number 1 team in the college football playoff. Indiana checks in. They get the bye down to the quarterfinals. The Hoosiers in that top spot at number 1. This is a no-brainer. Indiana getting into that top spot was obvious. It's easy. They are actually the last undefeated team in college football. They took care of business against Ohio State in the really good Big Ten championship game. The Hoosiers, who saw this one coming, let alone this year? Imagine telling somebody this 2 years ago that Indiana ends up being the top seed on that front. So Indiana is in as the number 1 seed in the college football playoff rankings, 2 through 12 coming up here in a little bit. It is Ohio State that checks in as the number 2 team in the college football playoff rankings. The Buckeyes will be on the opposite side of the bracket in the CFP. Ohio State only flips with Indiana, so the committee does not boost Georgia ahead of the Buckeyes. The previously 2 undefeated teams stay at 1 and 2. They flip those two teams. In fact, I actually think depending on if it goes the way I think it's going to go in the 7-10 matchup and the 6-11 matchup, I think you might be able to argue that Ohio State has the harder path now moving forward. That it might be Ole Miss and Tulane in that 6-11 game, which I assume this is going to be Georgia, not official yet. I'm a little bit surprised that maybe the Buckeyes would rather be the 3 seed. Kind of funny how that one plays out. So 2 teams in, Indiana, Ohio State, 1 and 2 in the college football playoff field, the bracket. Georgia is indeed the number 3 team in there. The Bulldogs of Georgia, number 3 in the CFP. Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia check in on the top 3. Don't hit enter yet on the graphic, Aiden, but you can put Texas Tech, or actually maybe just put Texas Tech in and just don't push them across. Yeah, I mean, that's the best play. It should be Texas Tech as the number 4 seed, and I question how much other chaos we'll get beyond that. In theory, it'll just be Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma at 5, 6, 7, and 8. Indiana the 1, Buckeyes the 2, Georgia the 3. Texas Tech potentially, I assume here, as the number 4 seed in the college football playoff. Yes, it is indeed the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. If the previous games hold, Oregon would be your 5 seed coming up here. But the Red Raiders, I have actually been extremely impressed so far this year by what the Red Raiders have done. This is a really good defense. They have been awesome so far this season. Sub L3. I love what we've seen out of Texas Tech. Their only loss this year came in a game in which their quarterback was not healthy. I think that probably should be considered and remembered and reviewed as well. Going into this week's game, Oregon was the number 5 team. Same thing, I can probably put these teams in advance. I would be a little surprised if they dropped Oregon somehow. It kind of feels like 5, 6, 7, 8 shouldn't have much change, shouldn't have much chaos as we await the final answer on that front. Right now, the top 4 are known. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon is indeed the number 5 team in the college football playoff bracket. The Ducks get in with that 5 spot. Oregon at number 5. So they will face the number 12 seed. We assume is going to be James Madison, not a lock at this time. The winner would then get the right to face Texas Tech in the quarterfinals. As a reminder, these first-round games are played on campus, on campuses. So Oregon will host a college football playoff game. In theory, we'll be getting Ole Miss coming up next here at the number 6 spot. We shall wait and see on that front. The bracket, Indiana 1, Ohio State 2. They only drop 1 spot. Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4, Oregon 5. So far, mostly chalk. Ole Miss is indeed the 6th seed in the college football playoff field. The Rebels stay at that 6th spot. They will host the winner here of the number 11 seed, or they'll face the 11th seed, and then if they win, they face Georgia coming up. Based on what the rankings were going into this, pretty reasonable to assume it will end up being James Madison on that front. It'll end up being Tulane against Ole Miss, my bad. James Madison against Oregon. We now wait number 7. Going into this week's college football playoff rankings, I don't really think there's that much room for chaos. I would assume this once again ends up being Texas A&M. It is indeed. The Aggies of A&M have the 7 seed in the college football playoff bracket. They will face the 10 seed, which has a lot of drama and a lot of uncertainty as A&M jumps to that 7 spot, or stays, I should say, the 7th spot in the college football playoff bracket. So Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, and A&M at the 7 spot on that front. Go ahead and just push it with the blankets, fine. Number 8 and number 9, I am curious if they come in as 8 should be Oklahoma, and then I wonder if they go back to like 12, 11, 10, and 9, and count down from there. Oklahoma is the 8th seed in the college football playoff bracket, so they will be at home against a very much to-be-determined opponent. Oklahoma, number 8. If they win, they get the right to face Indiana in the quarterfinals. So we have all but 4 spots are known, and I think maybe 3 of them are what is uncertain at this point. If you have not already, make sure you guys are subscribed at youtube.com/chatsportstv. We will be live for the college football playoff every single game. Every game we will have somebody here on the Chat Sports YouTube channel live, as the committee going to probably drag it out a little bit here of 9, 10, 11, 12, first one out. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. You can go to a graphic for that, please, Aiden. Hit that sub button as we await the final 4 teams in here. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. 12, 11, you can just do a weigh-in sub count. That's fine. Or that's even better. Actually, sorry. Alabama is in. Alabama is in as the number 9 seed. So not even any drama here. Alabama is in. They are number 9 in the college football playoff rankings. Alabama in. It's a rematch against Oklahoma. Alabama secures the number 9 spot. Now it comes down to Miami and Notre Dame for the number 10 seed. So Alabama doesn't even move down a little bit after this one. Alabama is 10. Oklahoma is 8. Will the committee stick with Notre Dame over Miami, or will there be a surprise twist here down the stretch? We are live for the college football playoff bracket. Number 10, in theory, is coming up sooner. Do they jump around a little bit here? We shall see. Remember, if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. This is the bracket so far. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma. Alabama is in at the number 9 spot. Now we await 10. Is it Notre Dame? Is it Miami? We await 11, which I assume is going to be Tulane, and 12, which I assume will end up being James Madison. But could the committee get weird and put Duke in? I don't think we can necessarily rule that one out. Miami has jumped the Fighting Irish. The Miami Hurricanes are in over the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Miami is 10. So Notre Dame is going to be left out of the college football playoff. The Hurricanes are in. The committee all year had put Notre Dame in ahead of Miami. And then with both teams on a break, I guess because BYU lost and they made them next to each other there, Miami in over the Fighting Irish. How about that one? ACC does get in. For the record, I think that putting Miami in over Notre Dame was the good decision here. So I'm going to change our live pin poll. You don't have to go to it here. Did the committee get it right? Yes or no? No. Remember, if you have not already, make sure you guys are subscribed to us here on Chat Sports. Also on the Alabama Football Report. Bama fans, we will have a full video for you guys later this afternoon. Chat Sports fans, by the way, after today's live stream wraps up, right into Red Zone. We'll be live for every single college football game. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. The drama going into today was who gets in. Bama, Miami, and Notre Dame, we have the answer. Bama is in at 9. Miami is in at 10. In theory, Tulane will be 11. James Madison will end up being 10, but we shall wait and see on that front. Bama, Oklahoma, Miami, A&M, Oregon, Ole Miss, awaiting their proverbial, projected, maybe is actually a better term for it. That's probably the word I should use there. G5 opponents, or G6 if we want to count the Pac-12, which I'm not counting quite yet there. Alabama 9, Miami 10, and this is where the conference championship winners will take over. Whether it's the AAC Tulane should be in. I don't think there's that much more drama to have here. And then James Madison or Duke down for the 11 and the 12 spot. 10-7 matchup is good, by the way. This is the Notre Dame game, essentially. Both these teams beat Notre Dame. Who's better, Miami or A&M? I actually did that one a lot. Rematch in Alabama, Oklahoma, which, I mean, Bama's issue the past couple weeks have been they've just destroyed themselves. Like they have self-inflicted, wounded their way through everything of late. So we're waiting on number 11. There it is. Tulane gets in as expected with the 11 seed. So 2 rematches in the first round of the college football playoff, Tulane and Ole Miss. Ole Miss pounded Tulane earlier this season. Tulane's played much better football since then. Ole Miss has lost Lane Kiffin. Pete Golding is in as the new head coach. And you also get a rematch of Oklahoma, Alabama in a first round college football playoff game. So one team left, by the way, of note, Tulane officially on the CFP rankings checked in at 20. So they were 20 in the final rankings, which they did not move up very much there, which I'm a little bit surprised by. So Tulane, 20 overall in the rankings, but does move up to the 11th spot. And it is indeed another group of 5 team. James Madison is in. James Madison, thanks to Duke taking down Virginia, James Madison is in to the college football playoff. This is your bracket. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Miami, Tulane, and James Madison get into the college football playoff. Notre Dame is left out of the CFP. I do want to see who the first and second team out, by the way, are. It is Notre Dame. The committee has them as the first team out. Just of note here, by the way. We will be live, by the way, for every single college football playoff game this year. Notre Dame, the first team out. BYU, the second team out. Pretty much as expected there. Sorry, Texas and Vandy. It was never really going to end up happening on that front. This is the CFP bracket. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. Oh, hold on. I can get this updated here. Don't move. I can get that updated there. CFP bracket. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Miami jumps Notre Dame in the final college football playoff rankings. Tulane takes down the AAC championship. They get in there. James Madison in as well. These are the final CFP teams. The first teams out, by the way. I'm not sure why it's not pulling. That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. This is the bracket. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. I want to get to the super chats that have come in. Go back to the bracket as well, and then did the committee get it right way in as well, which is a good one too. Get those votes in. Did the committee get it right? Y for yes, N for no. This is your college football playoff bracket this year. Tulane and James Madison as the higher-ranked conference championship winners over Duke get in. So did the committee get the college football playoff bracket correct? Or at least, did they get the 12 teams right? I think there are very valid discussions to be had beyond that, like 2 versus 3 and 9 versus 10, etc. Did the committee get it right? Y for yes, N for no. 44% say yes, 56% say no. Notre Dame fans, perhaps down bad properly. They come up short in this one. Did the CFP committee get it right? Y for yes, N for no. Couple super chats I want to give some love to here. Mr. Bacon says OSU had 2. He's going to be number 3. And then they end up checking in at number 2, which I was a little bit surprised. I went back and forth on that projection. I wasn't sold on it there. Mr. Bacon says Ole Miss shouldn't be, and they have no coach. It is Pete Golding. Now, is he a good coach? I don't know, but we'll see how it plays out there on that front. Thank you, Mr. Bacon. I appreciate that. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed to us here on Chat Sports, youtube.com/chatsportstv. We're going to be live for every single college football playoff game this year. Everyone, we have you covered. Whether it's the first round games, the quarterfinals, the semis, all the way up to the national championship game, here on Chat Sports, we have you covered. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. If you're tuning in a little bit late, before we sign off here, kick it over to our red zone coverage. The CFP bracket is as follows. Indiana's the 1 seed. Texas Tech is the 4 seed on the left side of the bracket. Ohio State is the 2. Georgia is the 3. Ironically enough, a year in which we probably didn't need 12 teams. We just needed 4. The 4, I think, were pretty obvious. IU, OSU, Georgia, and Texas Tech with unanimous Indiana. Who would have seen that one coming? No change at 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oregon is 5. They will play James Madison, who got in because Duke upset Virginia. ACC still got a team in, though. We'll get to that in a little bit here. Ole Miss is the 6. They will take on Tulane in a rematch game, which I don't love, but you're going to have those sometimes. A&M is 7. They stay at the 7th spot. They get Miami in the we both beat Notre Dame game, which I find humorous. I do feel bad for the Irish. Someone was going to get left out. It took the committee way too long to figure it out, but they finally got it right as far as I'm concerned, that Miami is in over Notre Dame. This might be the end of the guaranteed G5 bid. Wouldn't be surprised that kind of tweaks there. A&M, Miami, a fantastic game. Winner gets Ohio State. Oklahoma, Alabama is a rematch as well. That was a really good game, mostly down to the wire last year. Can Bama stop shooting themselves in the foot? Who's to say? The rankings, very noteworthy this year. Indiana, I think, is a unanimous number 1. Kind of crazy to think about right there. 3 Big Ten teams, by the way, in the top 5. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, and Oregon. The other top 10 teams that were these are the only teams that were in, not via, obviously, because there were 2 G5 teams that made it in there as well. Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Miami. Of note, the committee did list Tulane at 20, James Madison at 24, which means they wouldn't have changed them at all. I guess James Madison went up 1 spot. They moved up 1 spot, which I do find interesting there. Again, folks, this is your college football playoff bracket. Indiana, 1. Ohio State, 2. Georgia, 3. Texas Tech, 4. Oregon, 5. Ole Miss, 6. 7, A&M. 8, Oklahoma. Alabama, 9. They do not move down a spot after getting punched in the mouth by Georgia. Miami jumps Notre Dame. They move to number 10. They slide up the 1 spot. BYU lost, fell down. I feel bad for Notre Dame, by the way, because if BYU had won, they were going to be left out, and BYU lost, and they got left out, despite being ahead going in. I think that was bad process by the committee, but they do put Miami in. I am willing to hear conversations on if Virginia had won, would Miami have gotten in? Or would they have just said ACC got a team, it's fine? I am on board having that conspiracy theory conversation here. I do think Miami should have been ahead of Notre Dame, though, with the head-to-head. Bama doesn't slide down. Tulane is in as a G5 rep. James Madison, thanks to Duke upsetting Virginia, gets in as the 12 seed, which is super duper fun. We will sign off here in just a second. Make sure you guys are subscribed to us here. On the Alabama Football Report. We'll have a full video for you in about, I don't know how long it takes me to get going there, but we will have a video for you on the Alabama Football Report with an in-depth breakdown of the news, a little preview talk as well. If you're watching on Chat Sports, later this afternoon, bowl game breakdown. We will have all of the bowl games for you guys, including the CFP, but also all of the other games as well. We will have that covered for you. Whichever stream you are watching on, whether it is on the Alabama Football Report or on the Chat Sports stream, we're going to sign off here in just a second. It will automatically redirect you to our red zone coverage coming up here for NFL week. We're on week 14? I can't keep track of math anymore. Shout out me. Live red zone coverage. Brett Alper, Sam Brown have you covered on that one. We will sign off here. It'll take you automatically to that stream. You don't have to go anywhere. You can tune in for our awesome red zone coverage. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. Happy to have you guys here with us. Hope you guys are subscribed as well.